Do you have pain around your kneecap when you run, or have you been diagnosed with runner's knee? Here's why that happens, why stretches and exercises don't always fix it, and what to do instead. I'm Jay Gruenke, founder of The Balanced Runner, and I've been helping runners and triathletes from beginner to Olympian improve their form and performance since 2003. And since the very beginning, runner's knee has been one of the easiest problems for me to solve with the understanding and the tools that I have. And so now I'm going to bring some of that magic to you in this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified every time I upload a new video on running form, running injuries, and how to get back that fun, free, flying feeling you had when you were a kid. Runner's knee is that classic front of knee pain that comes on as a dull ache when you're running. You can also feel it when you're standing up from sitting down. It's in your patellar tendon. That's the tendon that attaches your quadriceps through your patella or kneecap to your lower leg. It's not on the side of your knee or deep inside your knee. Those would be other problems. And it's not behind your knee either. And so people will tell you that what causes this is your quadriceps muscles, the front of your thigh, being overworked too tight. And that this pulls on and irritates your patellar tendon. And then as a result, the cure for this is first to release the tension on the quadriceps muscles. So that would be to stretch and or to foam roll or do some sort of other manual release. And then also to try and strengthen your glutes and hamstrings, which are almost always too weak if you've got runner's knee, so that your glutes and hamstrings would be able to share the load with your quads and you wouldn't have this extra tension. And so take a moment in the comments and let me know what stretches and strengthening exercises you've been doing to try and help with your runner's knee. So the problem with this whole stretch and strengthen paradigm is that it begs the question, why are your quads getting overused and why are your glutes and hamstrings not getting used enough? So you can spend a lot of time stretching your quads, rolling them out. It probably temporarily make your knee feel better. You can rest and let that irritation and inflammation subside. But when you go back to running, it'll come back. You can strengthen your glutes and hamstrings, and maybe you get a little improvement, but you're still not addressing the fundamental cause. And the fundamental cause is that the way that you are running uses the quads and doesn't use or not sufficiently uses your glutes and your hamstrings. Movement comes before strength and produces strength and flexibility. So if you knew how to run in a way that used primarily your glutes and hamstrings and didn't overwork your quads, then your glutes and hamstrings would already be strong and you wouldn't need any special exercises for them, and your quads would not be overstressed and causing this problem. So let's look at how your running form is causing you to overuse your quads and underuse your glutes and hamstrings. So the way your running form causes runner's knee is by having your weight too far back in mid-stance. Now, mid-stance is this moment in your running gait when you're on one foot. You finish landing, you haven't started taking off yet, and this is the moment when you're bearing 2.7 times your body weight. So it's not when your foot hits the ground, it's when you're supporting yourself here. And so if your weight is in the wrong place, if you're a little too far back, your quads will immediately start to work. And in fact, they'll be the only thing fighting 2.7 times your body weight to keep you from sitting down on the ground. And so it's no wonder they get tight and sore. Instead, your weight should be over your foot so that it's your glutes keeping your head from going down and not your quads keeping your butt from going down. And that's how you use your glutes instead of your quads, or in balance with your quads in running. So there are three main ways that you could be keeping your weight too far back behind your foot in mid-stance. And one is if you're leaning forward but your butt is just too far behind your foot. The second, probably the most common, is that you're just really flexed, like this. And the third is for people who've really been working on their running form too hard. You lift the chest and almost arch your back so that it's actually your upper body that's putting weight back when you run. Now, of course, you can have runner's knee on just one side if one side of your body is working differently from the other, which is true for practically anybody. In fact, it's more often the right knee than the left that has runner's knee if it's going to be just one, and that's because it's easier to be sitting back on the right foot, to put the right foot too far down in front of you, and so you're still behind it in mid-stance. So now the question is, how do you fix it, right? So there are two common recommendations that don't really work that well. And one of them is to stop overstriding, to fix your foot strike. So a lot of people say that runner's knee is associated with overstriding, which is landing with your foot too far in front of your body. And that's true, but that's not necessarily when the stress happens. Runners who overstride tend also to sit back behind their foot in mid-stance. The legs are just working too much in front of you rather than underneath you throughout your whole gait cycle. And so focusing on fixing your foot strike doesn't normally change things enough to keep you from sitting back at mid-stance. And so that can be kind of a frustrating thing to be working on and unsatisfactory. Another thing that you'll often hear is that you should increase your cadence. So your feet should hit the ground. You should take shorter, more frequent steps. Your feet should hit the ground more often. And that also doesn't solve the problem. It just reduces the stresses because it reduces everything. So your strides are shorter, and so you're not as far behind your foot in mid-stance because everything's smaller. And that can, to some extent, improve your runner's knee without really being the change you need. It can feel very choppy and unnatural, and I've even seen it cause other problems. But most importantly, it just doesn't get to the real problem. So how do you fix it for real, like really from the source, so that you're not sitting back at mid-stance, but you're right over your foot where you need to be? The way to fix this for real is to tap into your body's mechanism for balancing you over your feet, which is the core action, or the muscles of your torso that regulate your gait. So that is your pelvis turning one direction while your upper body turns the opposite direction, so that you have a twist around your lower ribs. And because that uses your flexor muscles and your extensor muscles at the same time, it keeps either one from overpowering the other, so that you're not too flexed at the hips, or too arched, but you're nice and balanced over your foot. So now if you have been deliberately trying to hold your core still, you've been doing lots of exercises that train you to hold your core still, like lots of planks, for instance, or a ton of Pilates type exercise, stop. That alone might solve your problem. And this is where I've gotten so many emails from people over the years where they just read my blog posts about this, where I give the same explanation, and began to allow their core to move, and their knee pain went away. If you haven't been doing those things, or you have and you stop, but that's still not enough of a solution for you, and your knees are still bothering you, then I don't recommend you try doing the core action on purpose. That's not really how it works. First, it's very confusing. Second, like physics and your nervous system will simply supply this movement and in the right amounts once you know how to let that happen. And so I have a free mini course called the Runner's Knee Solution. The link to sign up is in the description below, and that will give you an opportunity to really feel how the core action works, and you'll begin to use it in your running. And when you do, you'll find that you are spontaneously using your glutes and hamstrings more for running. You can feel them working in a nice way. They may even be tired for a little while, but they'll quickly get stronger. And at the same time, you'll find that your quads are not getting so overused, so fatigued, so sore, and your knee will start feeling better. And for everybody, the time frame for that is different. I don't know how bad your runner's knee is. If you can't currently walk comfortably, then do the lessons, but wait until walking is comfortable before you try running. If you can run but it just bothers you, then you may find that very rapidly your knees stop bothering you and you feel a lot better. For additional help, be sure to watch this next video on the right way to engage your core. Again, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Thank you so much for watching, and may all your running dreams come true.